Chapter 3. Respect is given or lost. "I'm going to make a partner in the firm in a few years," he says. She rolls her eyes and retorts, "They've been telling you that for years. When will you see that they're just stringing you along? They don't care about you. They just don't want you to leave." "That's not true," he defends. "Each one of them also had to prove their value. That's how it works. You put in the time and then you get recognized for it." "You don't know what you're talking about. They're just telling you what you want to hear and you're buying it." "That's not fair. I've worked hard to get into this position, and it's not all about being a partner. You don't know how it works. You've never run your own business." "Apparently not, but it does not change the fact that you're deluding yourself. You'll never make partnership, face it." This conversation, or some version of it, can flare up when two people have varying opinions around the same topic. It's one of the more challenging moments in a relationship because each side has a point, but for the purposes of connection, the point each person wants to make is irrelevant. As stated in the previous chapter, beginning with trust is essential in any healthy or personal relationship. But trust is not enough. There's a complement to trust that's also present in thriving relationships. If trust is the salt in a relationship, then respect would be the pepper. Respect is an essential element and not just a nice to have, because the dynamic that's formed without it. If we look at the interaction that began this chapter, you see a lack of respect on both sides. Each party was defending their opinion rather than inquiring into the other's opinion. Not surprisingly, in relationships that have a low level of respect, people are less likely to listen. They're less likely to be curious. And finally, they're less likely to value what the other has to say. Respect is distinguishable from trust in that it has an active element. There's a presence that comes and is seen when people are showing respect. Their eyes are engaged. They ask questions. They concentrate to fully understand. A good example of this dynamic is one that I face with clients regularly. I'd refer to it as the never good enough archetype. I'll use an example of a wife looking to increase her skills through taking additional courses. The husband is frustrated because although the wife has taken several courses already, she has never translated that into making money. The lack of respect looks like this. My wife doesn't trust herself. She keeps turning to courses because she's too insecure. She doesn't think she's good enough, and that means I'll have to pay for more and more courses. And in the end, nothing's going to change. In this relationship, how well do you think the husband listens to the wife? How likely is it that the wife will feel heard? And what is the likelihood that this will turn into a fight? The husband certainly loves his wife. He trusts her as a person, but he does not respect her or her process. It is in not respecting the other person's process that a relationship falls into the negative reinforcing loop that we pointed out in the previous chapter. A husband thinks he knows his wife so well that he no longer shows respect. In that lack of respect, which comes in many forms, the wife feels unseen and invalidated, which then turns into resentment. This resentment tends to eventually materialize into a fight or flight response. Either the wife yells and the fight begins, or she moves away because she's not going to be heard anyways. Respect is challenging in close relationships because we often lose it for good reason. We see things that our partner does. Over time, it's easy for partners to see each other's unhealthy tendencies, weaknesses, and limitations. In a partnership, we have an uninvited historian at our side who remembers everything we've done or not done. Over time, we develop an idea of the other person, which can deteriorate our respect for him or her over time. As we watch our partner and judgments form in our heads, we're even less likely to bring them forward as we know how this will end. The consequence is that the relationship becomes strained as the wife feels less and less comfortable sharing because she knows she will be judged. The husband has a story in his head about his wife, and she no longer has a partner in life, but rather an unforgiving judge. This dynamic turns into a very common argument. Her: I want to take a master yoga class next fall. Him: aren't you a master already? You've done so many courses. Her: you're not listening to me. This course is going to allow me to teach. Him: that's what you said after the last course, and where are you now? The wife can often feel the frustration of the husband as abuse. He's not supportive. He's only looking to put me down. The challenge that I see many couples facing, especially those who have been together for a long time, is that they really do know their partner. Like many things in life, this is a double-edged sword. If a couple has been together for decades, they may know each other in many ways better than they know themselves. A challenge arises. How do I allow myself to simultaneously see a person without prejudicing my past experience, while at the same time not ignoring my own experience? Or put another way, how do I show my partner respect through listening and at the same time respect through helping him or her see a behavioral pattern that he or she may be blind to? It's an incredible challenge and one that very few learn how to balance. Again, self-awareness is the prerequisite. If you are unaware of your own judgments, you will react to another without consciousness, like a Pavlovian response. A bell is rung and the dog begins to salivate. Although the bell is the trigger for the response, the reaction is something that occurs inside of oneself. If we don't see how the bell is connected to our response, then we are quite literally our thoughts. Put another way, we are not free to behave differently. An alternative ending to the story above might look something like this. Her: I want to take a master yoga class next fall. Him: you've done a few classes like this already. What are you looking to get out of this one? Her: I'm building up my confidence to become an instructor, and this will help me do that. Him: I love that you're going for it. I know that getting more confidence has been a big reason for you taking these courses in the past. How do you see this helping you in that regard? Her: well, I know that charging for my services is uncomfortable. I see many others who are doing the same for much longer. I guess it'll give me more credentials, and that feels important. Him: anything that helps to build your confidence is worth investing in. I'd love it if we set a goal that you deliver some courses yourself afterwards. Can we have that be part of the intention to make sure that we begin to create some work for you as well? Her: I have a hard time saying yes to that now, but I will discuss it with you as I go through the course. Although many will agree that the above conversation between the couple is preferable, there's still the challenge of getting there. Respect is often lost in a relationship with neither party ever knowing how it disappeared. Most people are unaware of how to rekindle it themselves, and as a byproduct, the feelings that arise are turned into blame or shame. In order to rebuild respect, we first have to realize that we have been disrespectful and acknowledge that the habitual behavior is not working for either ourselves or for the relationship. In doing so, the judgment doesn't go away. It's just less likely to bleed into the unhealthy dynamic that, as we know, does not end well. Our goal cannot be to pretend that we don't have judgment. We have it, and it's important not to pretend that we don't. The challenge arises when we bring it into our relationship. And even when we have judgment, you will learn throughout this book how to channel it in more productive ways, which actually bring people closer to you rather than push them away. It is possible to have judgment and at the same time remain respectful. The lesson in this chapter: respect is vital in connecting with others. Exercise, shutdown. It's easy to miss the moments that we are not showing respect in a relationship. The following exercise will help you better understand the moments that you are not showing respect and, more importantly, the consequences for your relationship. The exercise is populated with a few example responses to make it easier to start. What happens to your attention when you think you know what another person is going to say? Some examples might be, I turn off, I get frustrated, I feel bored, I get tired, I lose all interest, I feel the need to interrupt. Again, the question is, what happens to your attention when you think you know what another person is going to say? Now to the following question. How does this impact how you listen? For example, I generally don't listen. I make a lot of assumptions. I nod my head hoping I won't be asked any questions. I wait until I can speak. Again, the question is, how does this impact how you listen? Now we move on to the third question. How do you think that impacts the person you are with? For example, they may notice, they may feel lonely in the relationship, they may feel unseen, they may get angry, they may feel the need to speak louder. Again, the question is, how do you think that impacts the person you are with? Now we move on to the following question. What will be the consequences for this relationship if this occurs for a longer period of time? For example, there will most likely be resentment. There will most likely be frustration. They will probably seek the company of others. We will most likely grow apart. Again, the question is, what will be the consequences of this if this occurs for a longer period of time? The recap. In looking at your answers, you may judge yourself or the other. Please do not. The intention of these questions is not to assign blame or try to justify anyone's actions. It is to witness how things are now so you can heighten your awareness going forward. It's through this awareness that we have the opportunity to shift our behavior going forward. When you listen to your partner with gratitude and appreciation, they will feel seen and heard. It's easier to be vulnerable. They'll even feel smarter. If you have the opportunity to create that for another, it's truly a gift in a relationship.